Hey guys, so I'm just going to go over briefly about chapter 1 and talk about the assignments that we have this week. So again, this video will be brief. I just want to hit on some different points that I didn't hit on in your PowerPoint, trying to kind of make sure that you get an all-encompassing view of what chapter 1 is, because it is the full spectrum of health and wellness and what this class is based on. So just to kind of talk to you guys about your slides, different things of that nature, we kind of went through each slide. We went through each part of what's called the wellness paradigm, which is in your book. There are 6 components to your wellness paradigm: physical, emotional, intellectual, social, spiritual, and environmental. So those are your 6 parts of your wellness paradigm. I want you to kind of think about where you are on that scale. So thinking about each one of those individually, asking yourself the questions on those slides for each particular part of that paradigm, and give yourself a 1 to a 10, 10 being optimal, 1 being minimal. So physical wellness, where would you rate yourself as being well? Are you exercising every day, every other day, not exercising at all? And kind of look at those numbers and see where you're at. Where are you lacking? Where are you excelling? And try and figure out how you can improve those numbers. So looking at the questions that we ask ourselves in the slides, what do we struggle with? So emotional wellness, are we optimistic? Are we enthusiastic? If one of those is no, how can we get it to be yes, so we can be more well? So I think we can all agree whenever we're talking about wellness and we're talking about health, if one part of our wellness is extremely low, it can kind of pull down the other parts of our wellness as well. So if we're not physically well, it kind of pulls on our emotional wellness. If we don't feel well, we're kind of out of sorts. We don't really want to be active. We're not optimistic. We're not enthusiastic about life. If we feel great physically, then we tend to be optimistic. We tend to be enthusiastic. So I want you to think about it that way. Whenever we look at the full spectrum of wellness and we look at all 6 of the pieces of the paradigm, when we're all high on the scale, then we typically feel our best. And when one is low, it tends to bring the other ones down. So kind of evaluate that and see how you can bring up that wellness value score. I also want to mention, we talked about in the slides the other parts of the wellness dimension, which would be your occupational and your financial. I want to reiterate that those are not a part of your wellness paradigm. Those are not a part of the 6 pieces of the paradigm. Those are separate, and they're not considered to be part of the integrated wellness paradigm. So if you get asked what pieces of the paradigm are there, these 2 are not part of that paradigm. Sure, they are important to our health and wellness, but at the end of the day, the other 6 are more impactful than our financial and occupational wellness. We can all be happy and not make that much money. Do we want to make more money? Of course. But we can be resourceful and figure things out that way and still be well. So just to reiterate, those 2 are not part of your wellness paradigm. The bigger picture, life expectancy, how has life changed since the 1900s? We covered that in your slides, talked about that pretty extensively. Those are pretty straightforward. They're not anything shocking, I would hope. Gender differences, those are also pretty straightforward, not anything to be overly concerned about. I do want to reiterate leading causes of death, communicable and non-communicable diseases. So communicable disease, like I expressed in your PowerPoint, is something that you can give to someone else. So just like communicating, you're giving information. So think of it that way. Communicable disease, that means that you can give it to somebody else. You can communicate with that. So things like HIV, STIs, strep, the flu, all of those things you can catch from someone else. Non-communicable diseases, you cannot communicate that to somebody else. You cannot give it to someone else. So that would be things like cancer or heart disease, diabetes, things of that nature that you can't give to someone else, just being in contact with them or just being in their presence. So we'll talk about this a little bit later on in the semester, but chronic diseases, leading causes of death, In your slides, it kind of talks about the leading causes of death broken down by age group. So you see that 45 to 64-year-olds, the leading cause is cancer. 25 to 44-year-olds is accidents and all their causes. And these statistics are very late, so they're 2011. And once we get to the chronic disease chapters, I will update you on those because they have changed dramatically. And part of my role in the community is actually keeping track of data like this. So I can tell you specific numbers for Jackson, for Swain County, things of that nature to kind of show you what the disease rate is and what specific disease it is in particular that's killing people at certain rates and at certain times. So by no means are these accurate to the 2019 date that we are in today, and I do apologize for that not being updated, but I will update you whenever we come to the chronic disease. Behavior choices, those are pretty straightforward. Other factors, those are also pretty straightforward. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on those things because, again, I feel like they're pretty straightforward and not super complicated. So I would like to talk to you about the assignments for the week. If you have any questions about Chapter 1, please let me know. These are just the basics of health and wellness and what we'll be expanding on this semester. So your assignments coming up this week, you have your email assignment, so you email me by Wednesday. Please kind of answer those questions. If you have any questions, that's the time to kind of get points for it and ask a question or introduce yourself, however you want to approach that. Your other assignments are your introduction discussion board. You don't necessarily have to respond to a classmate if you want to. This is the instance that I'm not going to be looking for a response, but if you want to respond, please do. This is a good time to get to know your classmates a little bit better. You should also include a photo of yourself in that introduction discussion board. Excuse me. And you have 2 quizzes this week, so you'll have your syllabus quiz, which is due by Wednesday, and you'll have your quiz 1, which is based on Chapter 1, due Sunday. So quizzes are 5 questions each. You get 10 minutes. The question style just depends. Short answer, true, false, multiple choice, multiple answer, matching, fill in the blank. All of the above that you can think of will be in any one of the quizzes that you take. So just to reiterate again, 5 questions, 10 minutes to take the quiz. I say in the instructions that you can use your notes, but really and truly, I would really rather you not use your notes. You get to take the quiz twice, and it's your highest grade. So utilize this opportunity. These quizzes are really meant to kind of help you learn the information and not quiz you for regurgitation, but to help you. If you get it wrong the first time, then you get to try again the second time and learn some new information. So that's the way I look at it, is you're hopefully, after the first time, if you get it wrong, you go back and look at what the answer is, and then you take it the second time, so that way you're not using your notes the whole time. Just kind of my thoughts on those quizzes. They're trying to help you learn and not for you to cheat or regurgitate information. So please utilize those appropriately. So those are your assignments for this week. Next week, we will be talking about behavior change project, which is the big part of your semester, and I will be giving you a very thorough, in-depth video about how that's going to work, and I do encourage you to watch that whole video. If you don't, you might be in trouble, and I say that because a lot of people get confused about what exactly it is that I'm looking for, and I'm never going to leave you hanging dry on what I'm looking for, so please make sure that you watch those videos. Until next week.